good afternoon. Welcome to Focus Philippines Leadership Dialogues Live. My name is Regina Lay. I'm a broadcast journalist and I'm going to be your moderator for this session. In fact, we've got a fantastic session lined up today. I'll be speaking to two very distinguished gentlemen, each a titan of industry, who will be sharing with us their thoughts and expertise in their respective fields. First up, I've got Michael Raeuber. He's the Executive Chairman and Group CEO of Royal Cargo Group of Companies, which is a leading logistics provider in the Philippines. And then after that, I've got architect Romolo Nati, who's also Chairman and CEO of his company, Italpinas Development Corporation. I'm going to first give each gentleman 5 minutes to talk about their respective companies and then delve into the Q&A. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Regina, for the opportunity to present our company and our group here on the Cignal. And Jerry, can you please put on the first slide so that I can tell you a little bit more about our company? Okay, that is our profile. Next slide, please. Well, we have been established in 1978. Can you please go back? In 78, that is 43 years ago, time flies. Our primary operation is in the Philippines, but we have an extensive network in Southeast Asia. And of course, through our agents, we are covering the world with our network of subsidiary companies and trusted agents. Yeah? We are the only multinational logistics company based in the Philippines, offering specialized high-quality logistics solutions and services when you need them and where you need them. Okay, latest developments, because we have to keep it short. We are operating two ships. We have our own shipping line, the MV Greta, the MV Iris Pawai, and the MV Iris Miko. These vessels are CB 1100 vessels. That means 1100 TEU capacity. They are the biggest operating vessels within the Philippines. Two of the vessels right now are chartered out. One in Southeast Asia, the other one in the Mediterranean. The third one is operating within the Philippines. The latest development is that we established a vaccine depot. We are providing storage for ultra-low refrigerated vaccines. You have heard about Pfizer-BioNTech having a requirement for -80 degrees. We have other facilities for -20 and 3 to 8. These are just the latest developments. There's much more to that. Next. Okay, the latest major developments in big scale is North Hub development. The North Hub development is an integrated cold store company in an area of about 50,000 square meters and about 20,000 pallet positions. From there, we are distributing all over Luzon. And then South Hub is a proposed warehouse, an investment which we are doing within this year, actually. This development cost about $28.5 million US. For the North Hub, we spent about $35 million US. So you can see we are a committed investor in the Philippines. Next. Okay, the business units and services, we are in freight forwarding, we are in contract logistics. Contract logistics is further broken down into dry warehousing, cold chain, temperature-controlled warehouses, three-party logistics, and nationwide distribution. Projects and heavy lift, that is where Royal Cargo is a market leader in the Philippines. We are handling project transportation for complete plants, like power stations, for example, or refineries. We do contract logistics engineering, tariff consultation, heavy haulage and barging, and we have our own crane and erection division with own heavy lift cranes up to 600 ton capacity. We manage our own shipping line. Right now, domestic shipping line and chartering out of ships. But we have a dream of being, again, after 45 years of absence, the first Philippine international container line. And we have specialized services such as life and sciences, which amongst others is vaccine distribution, liquid transportation, and business process outsourcing. Okay, our vision is to be the preferred partner of choice in the supply chain and logistics industry, not only in the Philippines, but in the region. That is the short introduction of Royal Cargo.
Thank you so much for that, Michael. Next up, we're going to have architect Romolo present his company.
Yep. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Let's see.
Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me to present Italpinas Development Corporation, the company that I founded together with my partner back in 2009. We are practically a design-driven developer of sustainable properties in the Philippines. We focus on emerging cities in the country. We only deliver green buildings that are rated by EDGE, which is the green rating system developed by IFC from the World Bank Group. We have been able to get a lot of awards, even if our company is pretty young, again only 11 years. We also have been featured in National Geographic Asia back in 2014 for our innovation in real estate. That's itself. I am an architect by profession and by education, and my partner Filipino Jojo Leviste, who is a lawyer by education. The unique value proposition of IDC are mainly three. We are totally committed to passive green design and focusing on emerging cities in the Philippines, targeting the rising and more sophisticated middle class in the country. And we develop and we are developing several projects. The first project we did is in Cagayan de Oro, Primavera Residences, the building was awarded as the best mixed-use building at the Asia Pacific Property Award in 2014. Then also in Cagayan, we are developing a much bigger project, still also a green building, and also awarded as the best mixed-use building in 2017. And now we are constructing our first project in Luzon, in Miramonte, Batangas. Also green rated building and also awarded as the best mixed-use building in the Asia Pacific Property Award. I just shared a few slides about our projects and why we are located where we are located. Mainly, for example, in Cagayan, which is when we started in Cagayan, it was not really mainstream going to develop green buildings in Mindanao. But we believe that it's a great place to do business. Mindanao is also safe despite the wrong stereotype. These are some actual photos of the building. And just a few words regarding the green passive strategies. In short, what we do, we work on the design of the building in such a way that the building doesn't require too many high technological features, so that the building can be also sold at an accessible price. The fact that it's green is because of the way it's designed. So we increase natural ventilation, we decrease direct sun illumination, and we also recycle water and do rainwater harvesting. We also install photovoltaic panels on the rooftop. And these are some slides of actual project in Cagayan, again, Primavera Residences. This is the inner courtyard inside the building that enhance the natural ventilation, which I think it's important to remind that around 60% of energy consumption in the Philippines is for aircon. So our target is drastically to reduce the use of aircon through natural ventilation inside the units. And Primavera City, the other project in Cagayan, the Oro is a much bigger project, which is going to be covered with a massive array of semi-transparent photovoltaic panels to produce renewable energy, which is given to the condominium corporation. And our project in Luzon is Miramonte, as I mentioned, also awarded as best mixed-use building in Singapore, and is under construction at the moment. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Romolo. I'm going to get right into it and tell you that one of the things, or actually the biggest thing that struck me whilst you guys were doing your introductions, is that actually you both founded your own companies, and therefore your company's success and growth is very much tied into your personal stories. And so I want to take a step back and go into that. What brought you guys to the Philippines in the first place, and what's your story? Michael, let's start with you.
How would you?
I was on mute, but I heard you. So the first time I visited the Philippines was with a friend in 1972 on the invitation at that time of Pan Am, in the aftermath of their relief operations in central Luzon and the NCR. I don't know, maybe you cannot remember anymore, you were too young at that time, but central Luzon and the national capital region was inundated in water. So there were relief operations. I played a minor role in that in Frankfurt at that time, and I was invited to fly with Pan Am 001 around the world, and ended up in the Philippines. So I was 18 years old at that time, 18 years old, and was driven by adventure and opportunity in the country of what I perceive to be the country of the rising sun. And I'm still in love with the country up to now. So at 19, I got married. 1 year later, I got married in the Philippines, which I think speaks well for the beauty of the Italpinas. Lived with my wife in Germany, then in Singapore for about 2 years, and returned in 1975 with my Filipino wife permanently to the Philippines, representing a German logistics company. And then by then I was 21 years old. And in 78, 3 years later, we formed Royal Cargo Corporation at that time, and now it's Royal Cargo Inc. So that a very brief history of what brought me here.
When you first stepped foot in the country at the age of 18, did you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to start a company in a few years' time here? Or did that just happen by accident?
Yeah, no, it was not really accident. It was planned, because I was starting as a representative of a German logistics company. But even when I was young, I was entrepreneurial. So I saw to it that I was a partner in that endeavor already from day one. And yes, we started as a representative office. We operated as such for 3 years, and then we formed Royal Cargo. And so it was planned, yes.
Thank you, Michael. What about you, Romolo?
Yeah,
What's your story?
Very interesting, the story of Michael. I thought I was an early move-in here in the Philippines, but just came after I heard that Michael. I mean, I was late.
1971, he says.
72.
1972.
Yeah, very, very nice. Anyway, I am an architect by profession, as mentioned earlier, and I always did some real estate projects by myself in Italy. And I was looking for a place where I can scale up this business. And I went to the US. And in the US, I met some Filipinos. Actually, it's a funny story, because my English teacher was a Filipina, and we became friends. And she introduced me to the Philippines in 2000. It was 2008, if not, yes, 2008, 2009. And I just fell in love with the country, and I saw opportunities. And I always loved Asia. My father used to work in Asia. My father used to work in Alitalia, Italian Airlines. And I used to visit him when I was young, and I always loved Asia. And when I discovered the Philippines, for me was a great discovery, because it was like to be in Asia, but at the same time to be in Italy, because Filipino are very close to Italian in terms of tradition, culture, sense of humor. So I looked for a partner, and I found my current partner, jounalist, that at the time was coming back from Australia. We share our passion and advocacy for sustainable development, and we decided to incorporate IDC. It was really very tough at the beginning, because we didn't have track record, and we were not really from the. I mean, it was from the Philippines, but he studied abroad. But it was tough, but it was good. And it's good. And in 2015, we also been able to get listed in the small board in the Philippines, and our story is keep growing, to continue, and it's plenty of a nice experience. So thanks to the Philippines.
So 2008 was when you first stepped foot in the country. Is that correct?
Yes, it was just a vacation at the time.
And then same question as Michael, did you land here and think to yourself, oh, I could do so many things here? Or did it just happen by circumstance that you ended up staying longer than you expected?
It was for Michael, no? Sorry?
Oh, it was for you, Romolo.
Sorry. Yeah, actually, when I came here, of course, I like the place. I visited so many beautiful places, like Boracay, El Nido, whatever. But, I always thought I would like to work and live in a beautiful place like that. And but of course, beauty doesn't mean business opportunities. And but when I look, how do you say, in deep, and I saw many opportunities unfolding here, I said, I think it's really the place. It's Asia, it's warm. I like warm country. I like warm weather, and plenty of very nice people. Actually, I have to say that I still remember something, maybe it's funny. When my Filipino friend in the US told me, why don't you come in the Philippines? I remember I told them, I will come. I will go with you in the Philippines. And if we Filipinos are all nice like you, I will stay there.
And that was proven out.
It's really nice people.
Fantastic. We're going to come back to the opportunities part a little bit later on. But for my next question, I want to bring us back to the present day, which is that, the year of COVID, obviously, the last 15 months have completely disrupted all businesses across the world. Give us a sense of what it was like for your company and what you guys have done to meet some of the challenges that this crisis has brought. Michael?
Well, as you mentioned, it was a very challenging year. But even so, it was challenging. We finished the year with a higher EBITDA than in 2019. The reason for that is logistics service is a vital industry. And the demand for cold storage was significant because of disruptions in the marketplace, right? Many companies could not really trade their goods the way they used to trade them. So, of course, logistics companies had to provide the facilities to store the goods in the meantime. So, on the storage side, of course, it was beneficial for our business. Other areas were not that beneficial, obviously, because initially what happened is that the demand for transportation went down significantly internationally. Later on, to be followed by the problems we have right now, is immense increase in the cost of transportation. Cold storage was very important part in 2020 of our services because food had to be stored, right? But we still continued, and we have done that very consistently in the last 6 years, investing into the future, even at a time of difficulties. So in the last 6 years, we have invested $102 million US in the Philippines. Last year in 2020, that was a bit down. It was only about $4 million. But again, this year in 2021, we are marching forward again, and we are investing about $28.5 million in the company, in the country, through the company, of course. Yeah. So a lot of challenges. How did we meet them? We rallied our people. We kept them largely employed. Right, there were a few people who left or had to leave, but not too many. We are employing still about 1,250 people here in the Philippines. Of course, we introduced social distancing. We have hired actually for 3 days in a week a doctor, which is coming to our facility, is taking good care of our staff. So that was one of our, and we provided, because they could not find transportation to and from the office, we have provided such transportation for our staff. So that was our way of surviving the difficult time. We are looking forward to better times.
Fantastic. I think you made a very good point, which is that logistics, particularly last mile logistics and cold storage, were actually one of the few areas across the economy that was seeing surge, right, for obvious reasons. So maybe the better question for you is, were you able to meet the increased demand? I don't think anyone could have anticipated, for example, that the whole country, the whole world will be, for example, staying at home and ordering everything through the e-commerce platform. Were you guys able to meet that unanticipated surge in demand?
Well, obviously, if you look at cold chain, it was not only Royal Cargo, but it was the cold chain industry of the Philippines who provided the facilities. We are one of the players there, and yes, our facilities were full. We met the additional demand by cooling down aisles. We met the additional demand also by utilizing our reefer containers. Our company owns a number of refrigeration containers. We use them to facilitate to store the additional demand. So yes, taking these measures, we were able to meet the demand.
Fantastic. Now, Romolo, I'm going to go to you. You're in a slightly different industry, real estate, which was heavily impacted by COVID restrictions, particularly for Italpinas, which has a lot of projects in the regions, in the provinces, right? You mentioned Cagayan de Oro earlier. How were you able to navigate that in all of last year, and what are your plans moving forward?
Okay, yes, the real estate itself is there are different sectors, no? Inside real estate, you have commercial, offices, residential mainly. Fortunately, in IDC, we are mainly residential. So the residential sector has been the one less affected by the pandemic. In some way, has been affected positively in some part because of the stay-home tagline, if you want, of the lockdown. Gave, let's say, pushed many people to understand the value of having their own space. So let's say in terms of sales, we were not affected negatively. In terms of back office operation, also we were lucky because since we have operations outside Metro Manila, we were already implementing remote working, and so we were ready, when the lockdown started. I know many companies really suffer because they didn't have in place the software and the habits of, because it's not enough to have a software. Also, you need to have people in the company that are used to use that software. So we were okay. I would say that maybe the part that was affected the most was payment collection, because we also understood that many people lost their job and they had difficulties to cope with the pandemic. So what we did is more or less we mirror what the also government did in some way, creating systems to allow people to postpone payments, to defer payments, so that we didn't lose the sales, but of course we at the same time we help clients to cope with the pandemic. So I think that in the mid-long term, real estate in the country will be okay because it's a real there is a real estate demand above all in the provinces because what and in green building. So because people are much more conscious now about the living space because of the lockdown and because of a healthy environment. So units with natural ventilation, natural light, and possibly not in congested areas, which obviously are outside the Metro Manila or Metro Cebu areas, are becoming more and more in demand. But of course, we also have our challenges because we need to implement different shifting of employees, commuting of employees. So, I mean, we had our part, but it's okay. I mean, fortunately, we are on the right side of the industry.
No, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people are migrating more towards the less densely populated areas, looking for, more fresh air and wider open spaces. So
Yeah.
that's something that's good for your company. I wanted to note though that it's great that you had introduced loan moratoriums, but you're also a publicly listed company. So I was wondering whether you had any issues with managing your shareholders or realigning expectations around your earnings.
Of course, our net profit this year was lower than last year, and of course, this was not planned. Actually, we have been consistently growing in our performances, but many other indicators were extremely very good. Sales was higher. Total equity and liability total equity was higher. So we have been, despite the external conditions, we have been able to really perform well, I would say. Considering the external environmental condition, I think we did a great job. In fact, our share price really didn't collapse. I mean, of course, it went down as any other real estate or maybe any
Hmm.
other companies, but I would say it defended itself very well.
And that's, I guess, a vote of confidence by your shareholders. Thank you, Romulo.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm going to come back to you. I, before 2020, I don't believe most people knew the name of their logistics providers. But all of a sudden, COVID hit, and suddenly we know that amongst the most important people in our lives are the people who deliver our goods, right? When you look across the landscape, um, how do you measure yourself against your competitor? What would you say are your biggest differentiating points?
Okay, well, we are diversified and we offer differentiated services, such as, for example, only 24 by 7 customs clearance. We can do customs clearance during nighttime, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays, for example. And I think we are probably the only one who can do that here in the country and has the license to do that. We are in pharma logistics. As you have seen, we just created a vaccine depot, which is sufficient actually to store the vaccines required in the whole country. We are market leader in ultra heavy project deliveries and craneage. We provide cold chain services. We provide logistics solutions for liquid products. We own ISO tanks. We have close to 200 ISO tanks owned by ourselves and about the same number of reefer containers. We own our shipping line. We have a shipping line here in the Philippines, and we are reaching out to the region. And we are the only Philippine-owned international logistics network. So meaning to say Royal Cargo has offices and companies throughout Asia, but we also have our own company in the UK and in the United States. So this differentiates us significantly from our competitors. Our competitors are local companies in niche, providing niche services in logistics, and then predominantly foreign companies which cover the ordinary air and sea transportation services. There, of course, we are small in comparison to I don't want to mention the names now of our competitors, but I think you know them. And of course,
I do.
they are huge investors. So we are playing, I think, a significant role in the Philippines in logistics and to some degree also in the region, and that is our differentiator here.
Speaking of niche players, it seems there's more competition now. Are you guys feeling that?
Well, you always feel competition, of course. And then when I say that we are market leader, it is not in all aspects of the business segments which I just mentioned to you. We are a market leader in project and heavy lift. That means to say we are the biggest company in the Philippines with respect to provide heavy transportation, ultra heavy transportation. That means items which are probably weighing 800 tons or 1,000 tons at one time. Or we need cranes which can lift similar weights. There we are a market leader. There are areas which we have not developed yet that well, and that is last mile. And you just mentioned it, of course, the market is shifting. More cargo is now going last mile, which is a high volume, low margin business. Our business concept is more based on investments and differentiation. So, and that is why we do that. We, as I told you, we have invested more than $100 million in the Philippines, which is a developing country. And we believe that that is a good concept, actually. So we are differentiating ourselves not only by the differentiation of the product, but by also the level of investments which we have.
Particularly since the competition is always going to be there. Thanks, Michael.
Oh, yes.
Same question for you, Romolo. I mean, when you think about it, when you first came in 2008, sustainability wasn't even a buzzword back then, right? Nobody understood what sustainability meant. Now you look around and everyone's talking ESG, everyone's talking green initiatives. What's the landscape for you guys like, and what would you consider, or how do you measure yourself against your competitors?
Okay, our competitors, at least who I think are our competitors, are giants. You know, are very big corporations that have been around for hundreds of years, some for hundreds of years. And I like that to have IDC compete with these giants. For me, it's already fulfilling. You know? In terms of how do we differentiate from them? It's actually also what you just said. We anticipated green development, sustainable development, and mainly no one anticipated that sustainable development could become mainstream at that time in 2009. And also what we have been able to do is to succeed in the challenge of delivering green buildings at an accessible price. Because if you recall, but even now, when you talk about green buildings, the first thing you think is price, you know, maybe 2-3 times the cost of an average building. In our case, our building costs similar to other buildings which are not green. So the sustainability aspect what makes us different, because it's in our DNA. We are not retrofitting the company now to become green. We started as a sustainable company, or a company that design and develop sustainable projects. The other differentiation is going to emerging cities. You call it here in the Philippine provinces. Back in 2009, if you recall, I recall very well. In Cagayan de Oro, there were no condominiums. We went there not only to do a condominium, but a green condominium, a green building. So you can imagine at that time it was really a disruptive idea. That's one of the reasons why it was very tough to start, because we didn't have credit. People were very skeptical investors. But now, also going outside congested area, you also mentioned that it's becoming mainstream. It started to become mainstream even before COVID with this. They call it balik provincia. I think it's this idea of the government.
Fantastic pronunciation.
I very similar to Italian, because we call it provincia. Also in Italian. So, but anyway, this idea of Philippines not being only Metro Manila, which was when I came here. Philippines looks like only Metro Manila, but Philippines is 7,400 islands. It's a huge territory with many different places that can really contribute to the growth of the country in different ways. So we anticipated this multipolar development ahead of time. And so we are quite familiar in developing in the provinces, in Cagayan, in Batangas, but now we have more projects in the pipeline, which I cannot disclose yet. So in some way, COVID accelerated trends that we anticipated, but they were already developing, even before COVID. COVID, what did just accelerated at a very much speed. So in some way, that's what differentiates us. I mean, we are small, but we are very hungry.
And in fact, you were a first mover in two key areas. Number one, as you said, sustainable development, way back before it was even a buzzword, right? Before it was hip to go into sustainable development, you were already in it. And secondly, with your push towards secondary cities like Cagayan, like Batangas, which not a whole lot of developers back then were looking into. When you look across the landscape now, and I mean present day, after COVID has changed the economy, where do you see the opportunities? What's still out there to do?
I think there is a lot to do again in surrounding area. I mean, in emerging cities, in really a lot to do. I know that developers are also looking, the big ones, I mean, are already looking on those areas to develop. Some are already developing there. We are not scared of that. I mean, I've never been scared of competition. I think competition is, in Italy, we say the salt of life. I mean, we always need to be challenged by someone that can do things better than we do, that we can do better than them. So I find it healthy. For an healthy economy, I think it's great. We are not scared about that. We are just pushed to do better, faster, and ahead of them. So there are still opportunities. Real estate will bounce back. It's already bouncing back. And again, some part of the real estate haven't been affected at all. So this country is still plenty of opportunities in real estate, and not only. Of course, I talk about real estate because that's what I know.
Fantastic. Thank you, Romolo. Michael, one of the things that a lot of foreign businesses here complain about is the bureaucracy, right? The difficulty dealing with red tape, difficulty dealing with all these layers, just in order to get anything done. Particularly for your industry, which has to move things through customs, right? What insights do you take away after many decades of doing business in the country? Well, any best practices that you can share for those who are looking to break into the same business?
Let me put it like that, not critical, but supportive. I think the Philippines has fantastic opportunities to improve on bureaucracy and red tape. However, on the other side, you probably know that we now have an anti-red tape authority in the Philippines, which has started to work. And the Bureau of Customs, for example, has a very comprehensive program to reduce red tape and reduce corruption as well, which is a problem, right? But the good point is there's a realization that change is needed, and people are working towards change. We are not yet there, but the start has been made. There is a multi-sectoral governance group now in the Bureau of Customs with people from the private sector and all areas, actually, including the church, which are in that multi-sectoral governance group. I'm one of those persons, so I know what we are talking about. The good thing in the Philippines is that the government has at least an open ear. They do, by and large, know where the problems are. And it's not that things are always happening the way we want them to happen and in the speed they should happen. But at least we have open dialogues and we can contribute. The good thing about the Philippines is even us, well, I don't want to say visitors anymore because I'm here 2/3 of my life already. But us foreigners in quotation mark, yeah, right? We can contribute, and it is rewarding to see that the contributions we can give to the country at times are accepted and appreciated. So you see, there are two sides for the medal of the coins all the time, right? And opportunity and problems are always opportunities to improve. So we still have to improve a lot, but yes, we are trying to work hard in that direction.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think the open dialogue certainly go a long way towards, resolving the bottlenecks. You talked about contributing, giving back to the country, and in fact, there's a lot of interest right now in the vaccine depots, precisely because it's, everything pretty much relies on the vaccines at this point. Tell us a little bit more about that, and how you guys see that moving forward. Is that going to be a permanent part of the business? Do you think you're going to try to ramp it up, or is this just for this period of time only?
No, it has been actually a part of our business in the Philippines. We have been for several years active in pharma warehousing and distribution. For a while, we were focused on clinical trials, actually. We still provide logistics services for clinical trials in the country. We are one of the few companies who actually are specialized and licensed for pharma distribution. Of course, we are living up to the challenges of COVID-19. And even so, that sounds strange, but we are proud of being one of the participants in the tender, in the bidding for the vaccine distribution in the Philippines. There have been 10 bidders. The government has received 10 bids on their tender, of which only 2 bids completely qualified in the eyes of government, and we were number 2. So we were not number 1. We did not win.
You came close enough.
Yeah, we came very, very close, but not close enough. Okay, but still we are proud. We are proud that we have been there, that we offered solutions. We also invested again a significant amounts of money to have that capacity. Will that capacity go down the drain? No, definitely not, because the country is growing, the requirements are growing. Also on pharma companies, with the investments we made, they have now more choices. We have now capacities which we did not have before. So overall, it is okay. And again, we are living up to the challenges of the time, including COVID-19. The vaccine depot, as I told you, is of such a dimension that it is equipped with enough space and equipment to house all the requirements for an epidemic. I don't want to call it now a pandemic, because in future, hopefully, we are dealing more with epidemics. But we are prepared to handle any kind of epidemic in this country right now with the investments we have made.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. Romolo, I think we have time for a couple more questions. I'm going to move to you. In much the same way that the the pandemic has changed the nature of, not changed, but, altered the business of Royal Cargo. You guys have focused mainly on residential. Do you see your focus shifting at some point to cater to, for example, facilities, green facilities, to house, I don't know, vaccines or any other e-commerce goods, for example?
We are looking for new opportunities in real estate. Not really the one you mentioned. That's a little. That's quite different.
Too specific.
Yeah, it would be a big jump. I would need the help of Michael if I want to do that. But I'm not gonna do. We are not going to do in facilities or how do you call it, warehousing. No, I don't think we will do that. What we like would be instead entering the tourism sector, because we think there are big opportunities there. I personally think that as soon as this pandemic will be ended, it will be finished, there will be what is called, somebody called revenge tourism. people will go on vacation aggressively. And Philippines is a great destination. I mean, no doubt about it. Maybe lacks a little infrastructure, but under this government, I mean, I have seen a lot of improvements. I mean, I don't want to talk about politics. I that's not my business. Even in Italy, I don't meddle because I don't know. I like to talk about what the things I know. And I really think that tourism in the Philippines has a big potential. So this is an area where I would like to focus, and we are discussing, we are exploring. Um, we still have commercial and offices in all our buildings because our buildings are mixed-use buildings. So in general, we have commercial at the ground floor, offices, and the residential. So this is it represents still a very small percentage of our total built square meter. But it's something that we will continue, but again, not growing in terms of percentage of our total business. So I think our main focus will still be residential with interest in tourism.
That's wonderful to hear you say that, because when you look at the tourism sector right now, it's a lot of doom and gloom, right? It's a lot of, scary stories about, these beach destinations that are empty, that are businesses have closed down. And yet, when you look at the landscape, you're seeing opportunities instead. What specific area of tourism would you like to get into?
Okay, I like the domestic tourism. I think it's greatly underestimated. We are living in a country with 110 million people, where maybe around 40 million people would like to have vacation in their own country. And I don't see too many, quality standard structures, facilities around the country. Many beautiful places are still missing decent facilities. So I think domestic tourism is something that will grow, and I see it as a big opportunity. I know in the Philippines in general, when we talk about tourism, it's always about foreigners, because foreigners goes to Boracay, foreigners goes to Nido, etc., etc. But for example, if you think about Metro Manila, there are 14 million people, I mean, these people would like to go to the beach, would like to go to the mountain, would like sustainable tourism, mountain climbing, and you have so many activities that you can do: snorkeling, scuba diving, even just sunbathing. Going, and it's not so easy. I mean, in Philippines, under this point of view, I've always been a little curious, because it's a place surrounded by water. Okay, because you're talking about an archipelago. But from Manila to go to the beach is really an adventure, because there are not so many hotels easy to reach, easy to locate. Prices are quite high because the demand is higher than the supply. It's a big opportunity. So that's what I would like to explore. And we already started. We are exploring that.
I think that's fantastic. You're right, because sometimes you drive 4 hours north, you end up in a place like I don't know, La Union, and then you find that the resorts out there, they're not that many to choose from, and some of them are a little bit overpriced because there's not a huge supply out there. So you're absolutely right. Revenge spending may be key for after this pandemic. I think my last question, I want to bring up digitization, just because it's been a topic that's brought up over and over for me, at least in all of the other events that I've attended. It seems like one other thing that the COVID pandemic has really brought to the fore is that there's no way around it. Everyone has to digitize, right? Everyone has to streamline their processes and digitize. How are you guys, enabling this? Michael?
Well, if you look at logistics, there are different sectors, right? One is the physical transportation of goods. Light manufacturing, that business will never go away. at least not unless you manage to transport cargoes through the internet, which is possible with 3D printing. Probably you can send designs to the other side and have it printed out on the other side. But otherwise, that business will be very resilient and will always be there. Okay. However, you are talking about digitalization and automation, right? My prediction is that online platforms will essentially replace traditional freight forwarding, which I interpret as buying and selling of space, right? It's very similar to a travel agent, actually. And that can be completely digitized. And I think eventually it will happen. The shipping lines have also started to basically take orders by online, right? And cutting out middlemen. And this trend will continue. Maybe we will even have apps in future wherein you can book cargo, air freight or sea freight cargo, right? Even customs clearance will be made more accessible, deeper, personalized and automated, which will shrink the need for personal intervention and the fees and margins created by that service. And hopefully it will also help in fighting corruption. Okay, so that is my take on digitalization. We ourselves, in whatever we do in administratively managing our companies, have to also digitize and automate many reports which we need on the management level, which have been delivered in the past by managers. Mid-level management, for example, will be given in future by computers.
That's a great observation.
We are preparing for that, and we are doing what we can, to go with the trend of digitalization.
Fantastic, Romolo.
Digitalization was already happening before COVID. It was already. Yeah, already very aggressive. COVID accelerated everything. Maybe in 1 year happened what it would have happened in maybe 5 to 8 years, 7 years, something like that. So there were already software available to work from home, to do meetings, to do events like this one we are doing now. They were not so adapted, massively. They are now. So I think this acceleration, from my point of view, is good. Maybe it's one of the good things that COVID left, if I may say. It will help to reduce traffic. It will help to reduce cost. It will help to reduce pollution. So I think I like it. Personally, I like it. Makes things more efficient. And it reduces a lot of waste. If you think before, we were used to fly, I don't know, to Singapore just because we want to see, not to have a meeting. Now you do it
That's right.
at home. So I think that physical movement will be more for pleasure and leisure and less for business. Of course, then business also require once in a while physical meeting. In terms of back office operation, I think it's really good. Again, we were internally in IDC, we were digitalizing the company already starting from 3-4 years ago. I think it's a good thing and it's happening and it will help many businesses, some more, some less, as Michael said. Some people will have still to do things, to move goods and to build buildings. So very difficult that we will be able to digitalize construction. You know what I mean? But the construction management, yes, can be digitalized in a way. So I think again, it's positive acceleration of a trend that was already existing.
Right. Fantastic. Now I know I said that was my last question, but I just saw another question flash. So I'm going to ask it anyways. Finding partners and investors, how difficult was it for you? And do you have any tips for someone who's just starting out on their journey? Might as well finish it off, Romolo first.
Me first?
Romolo first.
Okay,
Yes.
I think that if a business idea is very original, and so it's not the usual kind of business for the this say for the founders, it's going to be very difficult to find investors at the beginning. Again, because you are proposing something that is out of their this say comfort zone. But that's also the secret of being successful, because if you present a business that is very similar to many other businesses around, I mean, what are you bringing new to the table? So, in our experience, was extremely difficult. Every time we got, let's say, negative response to our propositions, we were with my partner more motivated and saying, I think we are on the right path because we are presenting something that is out of the box, is out of their comfort zone. So just we keep trying and trying and trying, and of course, then we made it. Which made it doesn't mean that we have done. I mean, we always have our challenges every single day of the week and week of the month and month of the year. So challenges never finish.
So the key is to never give up.
Never give up.
True.
Michael, drawing on your more than 40 years of experience, I'm dying to hear this. What is the secret to winning investors over or finding good partners?
Well, yes. Your question is it difficult to convince other people to help you in what you want to do, right? But you see, when I started, it was not difficult at all. Why was it not difficult? Because I had nothing to lose. Okay, we started absolutely from scratch, right? It was basically from a friend's table in Rufino building, which is Ayala Avenue, Makati, 5th floor. And we shared a telephone and a table, basically. And that is how we started. So, but absolutely, what Romolo said is correct. Look at problems as opportunities. He mentioned absolutely correctly that there is a lot of pent-up demand, for example, on tourism, particularly domestic tourism. He can see the opportunity and he will jump right in the way I look at it. Now, that has to be enabled, of course, by the situation, by development of the country. And that means you cannot have tourism as long as you go into quarantine when you travel, or that you need PCR tests back and forth, which are very expensive, which are multiple times more expensive than vaccination itself. Vaccination itself has to be also accelerated, of course. We are only at less than 2% here in the Philippines, so that is a big challenge. But again, with all the challenges in front of us, there are a lot of opportunities. And yes, never give up, always push forward and build up your house brick by brick. And as you correctly stated, it's more than 40 years that I'm doing that. And that's why we are now in a position of leadership in certain areas. Now, but let me take that opportunity also to talk a little bit about the country itself. One of the biggest challenges right now of the country is deficiencies in education. That is something which is very urgent, which I don't know. I don't think that there are any commercial opportunities there, but we all have to help in that aspect in any form or fashion we can. Otherwise, we have a lost generation of people which are inadequately educated. And that is the effect of COVID-19, actually, not being able to go to school. So that is a big challenge, the way I look at it. Yeah, there are other challenges, of course, also related to our business. The specter of insufficient supply of food is one possibility because of disruptions in the supply chain. Inflation brought on by tremendous increases in the cost of transportation as well. So again, we don't have to complain about lack of problems and opportunities as we go forward. These are challenges which we are facing right now, which together we have to overcome.
Absolutely right. But as entrepreneurs, the key for them really is to look at all these challenges, opportunities, and I like what you said, build your house brick by brick. And on that note, I'm going to close off this first series of the Focus Philippines Leadership Dialogues. Thank you so much for your time, Michael Raeuber. He's Executive Chairman and Group CEO of Royal Cargo Group of Companies, and also architect Romolo Nati, Chairman and CEO of Italpinas Development Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well done.
Very nice. Congratulations, Regina. You are great.
No, no,
Yeah,
you're
Regina,
congratulations to you. You're the one who's speaking.
No, you are really good. Very, very good.
You're the subject matter expert. I wasn't hearing you, Lawrence, in my ear, so I just decided to end it because I don't know.
yeah, you're
Like you
right.
said,
You're the boss. I'm just here coordinating in the back, trying to write the questions as you ask them. That was
no. Okay,
okay.
I gotta
Now we
pop
can
out now
stop
for another
this.
meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Regina.
Thank you
I'll
so
talk to you
much,
later.
Thank
Romulo.
I
you.
hope
I
the first
appreciate your time.
edition
Thank you so much.
went flawless.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Lore. Bye bye.
Aspetta un attimo. Aspetta.
Bye-bye, Lawrence.
Hello. Yeah, so how was that? Everything was okay? You liked it?
Yeah, so I think it was okay, yes. A bit hitch up at the beginning, but then I think we found the path.
Yes.
Place, right?
Correct.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
thank you very much, Micah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.